As a Spider-Man fan, let me just say, I too blame Avi Arad for everything that's ever gone wrong in my life. Everything that's ever gone wrong ever. The mess that the world is in right now is all Avi Arad's fault. But don't go on a witch hunt just yet, I'm trying to be a little bit more nuanced than that. The question is, has Avi Arad done it again? Has he hindered yet another Spider-Man as far as some public perceptions go? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. Whatever, just roll intro, I don't care. Don't forget to give me money. So let's do a little history lesson here. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. Everyone thought it was brilliant until Spider-Man 3 came along and Avi Arad mandated the use of Venom when Sam Raimi had his eye on other visions. This actively hindered the director's vision and made for a film that not everybody could agree upon. We then go to the Amazing Spider-Man reboot, which Avi Arad once again had a huge producer's hand in. And when we came round to the Amazing Spider-Man 2, it was an over-egged pudding of potential action figure characters clashing on screen in a story that did not call for them, all because of Avi's mandates. Moving along over to the MCU Spider-Man, Avi Arad is still floating around somewhere, but he's been keeping quite a bit more quiet, and that might have something to do with the partnership with Marvel Studios and their executive producer Kevin Feige. Alright, we're up to date now. Like it or not, like these films or not, Avi Arad has a bad reputation for interfering with the actual filmmakers at hand, and Avi Arad himself isn't really so much a filmmaker more than he is a business mogul. This is the brains behind Toy Biz. If you love Marvel Legends figures, unfortunately you've got quite a lot to thank this man for. Heck, in the infancy of big screen Marvel blockbusters, this guy recognized the potential of Marvel superheroes perhaps more than anyone else did at the time, or at least anyone else that was in any kind of position of power. And to be fair, I'm not necessarily critical of all of Avi Arad's input. For example, I thought Venom worked very well in Spider-Man 3, but I think that also has something to do with how Sam Raimi handled it and how the crew handled it. I think it all worked. It was not just Venom just shoved in there. It was very much a reworked Venom for that story, which I don't think everybody liked because some people wanted the more traditional Venom anyways. Moving over into The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I myself was more interested in the action set piece stuff, so in some ways I kind of saw eye to eye with Avi Arad on that, but either way, they didn't belong there. It was a clash of two visions, and Avi Arad is kind of very much the definition of an interfering, meddling film producer. And if we've learned anything from absolutely everything, it's better for producers to at least kind of keep some distance from directors when it comes to movies. Of course, depending on what kind of collaboration it is, blah, 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 blah. I'm sure Avi Arad can work pretty well with some directors, better some than others. For example, put Avi Arad and Mark Webb together. Mark Webb likes rom-coms, he likes all that, you know, character nuance stuff, and Avi Arad wants the big action set pieces. No, those two don't go together one bit. And it shows in the final product. Anyway, this is not an Amazing Spider-Man 2 review. We're here to talk about Avi Arad's alleged influence over the MCU Spider-Man. Now, a point of contention about the MCU Spider-Man for a lot of Spider-Man fans is that he doesn't really feel much like a Spider-Man because there's no real mention of characters like Uncle Ben, and he's kind of at a point of being so kind of behind on emotional maturity that they're definitely going very much for the kid Avenger thing. So he has to learn a few lessons from other superheroes along the way, and some people would much prefer a more independent Spider-Man. Do I agree with these criticisms? Not really. I think the MCU Spider-Man is great for what it is, but I can understand where they're coming from, and if I've ever made it seem like I don't in previous videos, then you misread that. So I'm gonna say this, take this with a heaping grain of salt because the sources here are a little bit wonky. However, I'll say this, I first heard about this from one of my Twitter mutuals, Johnny Obaid, and I don't know if he created this rumor, I don't think he did, but he's the person I heard it from first, and he's a cool guy, so shout out to Johnny Obaid. I feel like it's only right to say where I heard this from. Now, here's the reason why you should still take it with a grain of salt, is because the evidence is in the form of Twitter DMs from an unnamed person, And, right, okay, so, like, it's not like anyone can do that, but okay. Let's start off with one point of interference, well, allegedly, from Avi Arad regarding SpiderMan Homecoming. There was meant to be a cameo from Captain America in SpiderMan Homecoming. Now, to be honest, there is a cameo from Captain America in SpiderMan Homecoming, so I don't know if they mean maybe something more substantial, maybe Spider-Man and Captain America would talk. I don't know. Maybe they make peace. That would be great. I would have been very happy to see that, but hey. Not too relevant, I guess. But the big substantial one is that in the Staten Island ferry scene, it would be Iron Man, War Machine, and Vision that mess up the entire affair. They screw it up, and Spider-Man is there rescuing people off of the Staten Island ferry. And the thing that gives us a little bit of credence is that we do have this piece of concept art from Spider-Man Homecoming, which does indeed show Spider-Man rescuing people off of the boat, and Iron Man, War Machine, and Vision are kind of there fixing everything. And I guess that would kind of pay off the Team Iron Man thing, because you pretty much got the entirety of Team Iron Man there, minus King T'Challa and Natasha Romanoff. Allegedly, Avi Arad opted to cut this, or something. He just wanted Iron Man to be there. I don't know. Now, the reason why it seems a little out of character for Avi Arad is that this guy is a toy mogul, and surely having Vision and War Machine in the movie would sell more toys, and that's kind of always been his big focus when it's come to his involvement in Spider-Man films, is how many toys they can make out of it. So it's like, that would be pretty uncharacteristic for him. I'm kind of trying to think what the reasoning for doing that would be. However, I will say, I can't imagine how that context of the scene would ever play into the whole thing of Tony Stark taking Peter's suit away from him. Like, you wouldn't just have Iron Man balls it up and then be like, Peter, I'm gonna need your suit. Like, it wouldn't, you know, that wouldn't make any sense. And of course, concept art does happen early on in production, so there is quite a bit of spitballing going on, you know, throwing ideas around in the artwork. Great piece of artwork, though. I really would have loved it if they had this scene take place at night. I'd imagine it'd be very dynamic. It's just, if Spider-Man wasn't the person that ballsed everything up on the Staten Island ferry, then how does that play into his arc? It would surely just be this little vignette of Spider-Man being like, "Sup guys, I'm Spider-Man. You guys fucked this up. I'm here to save the day." Like, that kind of makes Spider-Man feel a bit Gary Stewish. So if this was an Avi Arad change, I don't really care, to be honest. It's fine as far as I'm concerned. But I guess people that wanted a more independent Spidey would be happy with that. Although I kind of think, like, the more Avengers you shove into this movie, like, it feels like Avi Arad would be the kind of guy that would shove more Avengers into the movie. Like, am I not mistaken here? This sounds kind of uncharacteristic, but it is the one with the most evidence in the form of the concept art, so, hey, maybe there's egg on my face here. Maybe Arad's changed his attitude. I don't know, but either way, I can't imagine what War Machine and Vision would be doing there. Iron Man's the only character you really need there. So, like, yeah, no, and, like, you know, if it was going to be a major narrative difference, I don't really mind what they went for, because I love Spider-Man Homecoming. Anyway, moving along on to Spider-Man Far From Home. During the Mysterio illusion scene, one of the best scenes in the film, during the point where Spider-Man finds the grave of Tony Stark and Iron Man bursts out of it, we were also supposed to see the gravestones of the Parkers, Peter's parents, and Uncle Ben, which would have sated the people that really want to hear of a more substantial mention of Uncle Ben than anything we've gotten in the film series so far. Now, I'm going to say this right now thematically, you don't need those gravestones there. Tony Stark is the fresh wound. He's the one he felt he, you know, could save in his Spider-Man form. So, like, I guess that plays more into the narrative, and of course there is the whole who is the next Iron Man thing. Is it going to be Mysterio who's faking it, or is it going to be Spider-Man who's not really like Iron Man, but he represents the same core moral value as Iron Man, as well as his ingenuity? To have the Parker parents and Uncle Ben's graves there, I don't see why you'd necessarily want that taken out as such. But I don't think it would necessarily add anything either, other than just kind of being a little bit of reassurance for those that don't feel like this Spider-Man's really come into his own as Spider-Man. I mean, put it this way, if it were included, I get the feeling it would get the people that really dislike the MCU Spider-Man maybe to be just a tad less vocal about it. a tad less vocal about the Iron Boy Jr. stuff.
Yeah, we bloody know. You never shut up about it!
So while it's definitely to a lesser extent than previous Spider-Man films, I get the sense, from what I'm seeing on Twitter anyway, that people would much prefer if Avi Arad didn't have involvement in these previous 2 movies. But good news, more alleged information I'd take with a little grain of salt. I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but supposedly in the latest Sony Marvel renewal deal, one of the things Marvel wanted was Avi Arad away from Spider-Man. No more Avi Arad involvement in the MCU Spider-Man films whatsoever. Not even the pittance that he's allegedly had with the MCU Spider-Man film. I mean, he does have a producer credit, so he must have some involvement, right? At the same time, while it's easy to blame Avi Arad for everything, you gotta remember he has made some impact on the superhero world. It's just one of those things where I don't think he any longer has the best interests of the audience, the filmmakers, and the characters at heart, and he's more of a business mogul than anything else. But this was the guy that penned the alien costume storyline in the Spider-Man animated series, which is what led to it having like that dark backstory in pretty much every other version of the black suit. It's become very popular. So if you like that, you've got Avi Arad to thank as well. I'm trying to keep things balanced here, okay? Let's not go after this guy's throat or anything. I mean, I don't know, unless he's like a racist or something, I don't know. Anyway, so that is that. Time for the end of video panhandling. What do you guys think? Comment below and discuss, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, click subscribe, hit the like button. Yeah, did I say comment? Comment. And yeah, in the description below, you can give me money, which is great and awesome and epic. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a amazing day.